a birthday party from friends, and I go back by the Velo in the evening because the tram isn't driving anymore. So it's always something different. You can use it like you want. You can say I use a Velo. I park it at Central Station. I do a whole walk through the city, and on the other end, nearby the Scheldt, I take the Velo back home. Those possibilities are incredibly big and gives you a big flexibility in your mobility. And that's what we see that people like to combine it also with tram, for instance. They come, or with a train, they come with a train to Antwerp, and there they take the Velo to go to their office. That are things that we see everywhere in the city, and where we see that a lot of people use it and use it on a very good way. And besides Velo, now you have also the opportunity to use e-scooter, to use the electrical bike share system that we have from Donkey Republic now. And that is spread in the whole region, because that was a little bit the problem also. Velo was limited to within the boundaries, the borders of the city. We couldn't go over it to the neighboring communities. Now with Donkey Republic, we can offer a bike sharing system also in the whole mobility region. And that's also a big advantage that we have today.
Yeah, so actually the added value.
And we see that this helps really the modal shift to get people out of their car and on another mobility mode. And where does it help the most? Within the city boundaries, because a lot of people today say us, we have a car and we live within the ring road of Antwerp. It's 4 kilometers around the city center. But we don't use our car in the city anymore. In the past, we went with our car to the city center to go and shop. But today, we don't use it anymore. We use the Velo, for instance, or public transport, or our own bike. And you see that there is a modal shift going on from the own car to shared mobility, more and more, and further. Also with electrical bikes, we saw, for instance, that there was a big change in distance that people were biking. And you even see today with the non-electrical bikes that the distance is growing together with the distance that is growing from the electrical bikes.
Yeah, but do you think there is a relation between the growing demand for these different shared mobility solutions and the roads infrastructure investments and vision that the city of Antwerp has had? Because I used to go to Antwerp a lot in the past, but now, and I used to go by car. It was easy to find a parking, even though it's sometimes quite expensive in Antwerp. But now I prefer not to use the car, because it's just not that easy to use a car inside the city of Antwerp. There's many bike zones. There's many.
Thank you.
No, but it's true. So I prefer to use the train, even though sometimes they're not always on time. But I know that in Antwerp, the most optimal solution is to use shared mobility, and I see that this is because of the investment that you have done and making streets not allowed for cars, for example, because sometimes it's very tricky to find a place to park your car, or when you turn to the right or the left, you cannot enter because it's one-way street. So do you think that the demand on shared mobility goes hand in hand with the, I suppose, year-long of investments and vision that the city has had, and making sure that the city of Antwerp really accustomed these shared mobility options?
It's a little bit a question. What was there first, the egg or the chicken? It's a very difficult one. I think it goes iterative together, in that sense that when you see that there is less car traffic in the city, it's easier to change your streets to more pedestrian streets. We are now, our 16th century city is is in fact the historical city center, and the nearby neighborhoods are very walkable. Right? We always say Antwerp is a pocket-sized metropole. Within walking distance, you can do a lot. You can go from the north to the south of the city, from Eilandje to het Zuid. You can go from the Skeld easy until the central station, and then you have the whole city. You can walk around very easily, but also, of course, micromobility can help you to be somewhat faster when you want, from north to south, for instance. And it's used by people because it is there. It's a sort of offering, and if you have the offering, people will use it. If you don't have the offering, people can't use it. And I always say people have to choose themselves how they are moving around, but you need to help them to choose also wise things. And for instance, if you say, here is an offering, it will be easier. Besides that offering, of course, you need also to have a good infrastructure to drive on. If you go with your e-scooter or with your bicycle driving around, and you permanently are driving in Paris-Roubaix on cobblestones and things like that, and you stop on a certain moment biking around, then you say, okay, I don't want to drive Paris-Roubaix. But we can make sure, of course, that it's better. And we are changing our streets in Antwerp now to living streets that are in fact shared spaces where the car and the pedestrian and the bicyclists are coming all together. Always the pedestrian is there, the measurement of everything. And that means when you change it, you change, of course, also partially the appetite for instance, a car driver to go in that sort of streets. He will stay on the streets that are leading him to the public parkings in the city center. But it's very smart, Constantine, like you do. You don't come with your car in the city center. You park him, for instance, on a park and ride. You take the tram and go to the city, or if you come with the train to the city, and by train you are really coming in the center of the city, and you can walk to